Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. So today I will be talking to you guys about imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome can be defined as a collection of feelings of inadequacy that persist despite evident success. So I feel like a lot of us have maybe experienced this to some capacity. I know 70% of people in the United States have experienced this at least at one point in their life. Is considered to be like chronic doubt in yourself and feeling that your ideas and skills aren't worth anyone's time or attention. And two examples of people that have experiences that have success on a very large scale are one, Albert Einstein, and two, Maya Angelou. Why they feel like that? I don't know, but it's like you can't say, hey, you shouldn't feel like that. You didn't like. Just the self-doubt kind of takes over, and it's an interesting phenomenon, just to say the least. There have been 5 different types of imposters that have been categorized and identified, and those 5 are the perfectionist, the superwoman or superman, the natural genius, the individualist, and the expert. Unfortunately, I have experienced all 5 of these at some point in my life. Some very recently. My conscious self knows that I've achieved all these successful things in life, and my subconscious self just doubts, and it's so difficult to like check my ego, because the ego is what's in between your conscious and subconscious. It's hard to check my ego because it's like, especially being a videographer and being a woman and then trying to freelance and do your own, start your own business. So you're like, or at least I was like, I'm not new to this, I'm true to this. Like, I have experience, I have the education to back it up, but I also don't have that network of people to kind of get paid what I deserve, I feel like. So that was a big challenge for me. I'm going to read the descriptions. So we'll start with the perfectionist. The perfectionist sets excessively high goals for themselves, and when they fail to reach a goal, they experience major self-doubt and worry about measuring up. Whether they realize it or not, this group also can be control freaks and feeling like if they want something done right, they have to do it themselves. All right, the Superman or the Superwoman. So people who experience this phenomenon are convinced that they're phonies amongst real deal colleagues, and they often push themselves to work harder and harder to measure up. But this is just a false cover-up for their insecurities, and the work overload may harm not only their own mental health, but also their relationship with others. They're imposter workaholics. The natural genius. All right, so people with this competence type believe that they need to be a natural genius. As such, they judge their competence based on ease and speed as opposed to their efforts. In other words, if they take a long time to master something, they feel shame. These type of imposters set their internal bar impossibly high, just like perfectionists. But natural genius types don't judge themselves based on ridiculous expectations. They also judge themselves based on getting things right on the first try. When they're not able to do something quickly or fluently, their alarm sounds. The individualist or the soloist. The soloist or the individualist are sufferers who feel as though asking for help reveals their phoniness. It's okay to be independent, but not to the extent that you refuse assistance so that you can prove your worth. Hearing the information about this just reminds me of what my parents said I used to do when I was younger. Anytime that they'd want to help me, the line that I would always say is, I can do it by myself. I can do it by myself. So I've been the soloist, the individualist since a toddler, and yeah, it's sad. All right. So then lastly, there's the expert. So experts measure their competence based on what and how much they know or can do. Believing they will never know enough, they fear being exposed as inexperienced or unknowledgeable. I definitely experienced this being a videographer. I've been doing videography or video production in general for over 12 years, and I still don't feel like I have enough experience to even give myself the title of like producer, director, scriptwriter, editor, even though I've done those things. And it blows my mind when I think about it, because on the one hand, I'm like, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've done different types of videos, XYZ. One example in particular is recently I applied for a job doing video production in some capacity, and they wanted a variety of experience. I have created videos for artists doing like behind the scenes stuff of their shows, of their music videos. I've done public service announcements for different cities. I've worked with the police department for doing public service announcements with them, with the fire department, doing public service announcements with them, working with AC Transit and doing like casualty training and awareness with them. I've done videos for the College of Education and Allied Studies at Cal State East Bay to talk about the different master's programs that they have with teacher education, educational leadership, and educational psychology. So I have a very wide spectrum of experience creating a bunch of different types of videos. And when this person responded to me and said, sorry, but you didn't have the experience we were looking for, I was livid. Like, what are you looking for then? Because I've done pretty much everything. I even worked for the news. So what else do you want? I was confused and highly upset. I mean, it's true that there's always more to learn, but I just felt like I didn't know enough. And I'm constantly learning and constantly pushing off applying for those jobs that are probably my career options, my career jobs that will make me happy. I've put them off. Oh, also with being the expert and applying for these different jobs, I also don't apply for the jobs that have this long list of like expertise or requirements, and I don't hit every single one because I feel like, if I don't have the experience that they're looking for or the requirements that they're looking for, like they're gonna overlook me, and I'm gonna invest time in this application and it's just not gonna work out. Recently, I've tried to overcome that because I've seen people, well, shoot, our president for one is not qualified and has the job. So at that point, if Trump can become president and he has no experience in politics, I can have this job and I have at least the minimum that they're looking for, or even no experience. Like, don't ask me nothing about nothing when Trump is president. That's how I feel. That kind of helped me say, if he can do it, then I can do it. So I'm going to do it. So I've experienced imposter syndrome more than a few times in my life and in more than a few ways. I've mentioned the different categories or personas that have been identified, and I have stories for all of them. But I'm going to talk about a more recent experience, and that being school, especially since I'm completing the program soon. So I have a couple weeks left of school, and I will be kind of vlogging my experience with that because it's the last quarter for me. But anyway, school, getting into a master's program, I'm going to talk about that. So I had high grades in undergrad. With each kind of level of school, I kind of went up, especially since I felt like a natural genius, and I've struggled with that a lot, being the natural genius, but then also straddling the fence with the fixed mindset and growth mindset in regards to education, just in general. I had a conversation with my parents recently about just how their expectations kind of just killed me because I took what they kind of instilled in me and I ran with it. So the perfectionist, I have slowly morphed into a perfectionist regarding my grades. With each level, education level, I kind of went up. Elementary school and whatnot, I was really lazy. I went in between public school and private school. Then middle school was cake work. High school, got a little lazy again, but then I realized college was coming, so I kind of picked it up. And then in college, I did exceptionally well. Like, I'm like, okay, this is education I'm paying for. I cannot just screw this up. But then also, it kind of will set the tone for where I can apply to get jobs and what kind of jobs I would look for. Undergrad, my cumulative GPA was about a 3.1. I had looked into getting a master's degree. Definitely didn't want to go back to the school I graduated from. But I realized that with the grades that I had, with my GPA, I can get into any program. So I had applied at USC. The first time I got waitlisted for admissions and then didn't get in. The second time I didn't get in. And so then I let some time pass because I was a little discouraged about it all because I was applying for a program in their School of Cinematic Arts. I really, since the age of 10, really wanted video production to be my job. I absolutely love it. I can't see myself doing anything else but it. Even though I've been working in news, I love the video production part. I love the editing part. I love maybe taking packages and putting my own little spin on it. But I want to create videos that have more of a purpose, and in news, I just don't have that opportunity. I applied to UW, the University of Washington, and I said, you know what? This is my last time. If this doesn't work, I'm just gonna have to find another route to go. I really wanted to teach video production because I taught at 2 different middle schools in an after-school program, and I loved it. I love sharing my passion about video production with these students who are interested in it. And in March, I found out that I was waitlisted for admissions at UW. I kind of didn't believe that I would get in because I looked at the school, I looked at the demographics, I was just like, it's in Seattle. Washington is not the most diverse place. I think the black population out here is maybe 3%. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it. That's what I heard. Being out in public out here, you don't see many of us. You don't. But I found out on May 1st that I got into the program and I wanted to throw up because I didn't believe that I got in. Like, I thought it was a mistake. And I really called them and I was like, hey, I got this email. Did I really get in? And they were like, yeah. For orientation for school, I felt like maybe I'm a token. I didn't feel like I deserved to be in the program. I thought it was luck. In my program, there's about maybe 6 black people. So I was just like, I felt like maybe this was some form of affirmative action where they said, okay, yeah, we need to make it look a little diverse. So we're going to sprinkle in a couple black people. I found out that that wasn't the case and that I really did get in based on my merits and experience because of Initiative 200 that took place in Washington where they curtailed any form of affirmative action. I believe recently, as of April 2019, they passed Initiative 1000 to bring it back and ending the ban on affirmative action, but that's neither here or there. At the time that I was admitted to the school, that wasn't a thing, and so I found out that, okay, yeah, it was me, my hard work and whatnot that got me into the program. A good example of my feeling like an imposter was my first class during my first quarter that wasn't a core class with all the students in my cohort. There was a lady in my class who clearly older than a lot of us that were in the class. I don't know exactly how old she is, maybe in her 50s or 60s. I know for a fact that she had 2 high school age kids, boys that were getting ready to graduate and go on to college. Hearing the way she spoke up in class, I just was like, I don't feel smart enough to be here because I don't talk like her. I don't speak like her. And, on paper, when I have time to really think about, what I want to talk about in class or what I want to talk about in my response to what we read, my speaking voice and writing voice are a lot different, but I also have anxiety speaking up in class. So when I would have to speak, because Akin did not play, you had to share something about what you read or anything in class, and she will hover over you and watch and wait until you said something. So we had to share, and my responses would be so short and to the point, and I felt like an imposter. I felt like, what am I doing here? If I can't contribute to the class discussion like my classmates, clearly I'm not supposed to be here, or at least be with this caliber of people. And I told my dad about it, and I explained yes, I'm educated, yes, I can do the work, but I just don't feel like I belong, and I feel like I just got lucky, and what am I doing here because I don't feel as smart as everybody else. So of course he said otherwise and was like, don't feel like that. But I told him, when I really think on it, I'm just like, I do deserve these things, but I can't shake the way that I feel. It's not a disease or an abnormality, and it's not necessarily tied to depression, anxiety, or self-esteem, but I could not help the way that I felt. Another incident was receiving the grades. Boy, if you know me, you know that I love how to work. I am a workaholic. I mentioned in the last video. I mentioned also that, okay, I'm in grad school, of course, and I work 2 jobs. So my first quarter of grad school and getting back into the swing of things, I surprised myself because I got a 4.0 and I held down 2 jobs. Second quarter, I got a 3.7 and I was so hard on myself. I didn't understand what was going on. Talked to some of my classmates, talked to some friends, and I'm like, yeah, I messed up. I could have did a lot better. I got a 3.7 and it sucks. I feel like I didn't do good enough. People are talking to me like, what are you talking about? I got an XYZ, but I'm just like that thing that I wanted to achieve was perfection. I wanted to be that person that was able to work 2 jobs, was able to do the work and get a 4.0, and that wasn't it. I was comparing myself to the first quarter of me being in school, and I did not reach that same pinnacle of success, and I was bummed out about it. Continued into the next quarter, and still bummed out about it, and recently, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to trip off grades because who's going to look at this stuff anyway? I got into the master's program, If I wanted to continue on my education, my cumulative GPA now is a 3.8. I can get in anywhere, but it's just the fact that I didn't do as well as I did the first time, and I had these expectations that were set, especially with growing up and kind of getting mixed messages in terms of when I did really well, all the praise that I would get, and then when I didn't do well or did poorly, all the criticism that I would get. It kind of threw me off. I'm not blaming my parents. I'm just saying I took it and ran. I blew it out of proportion, and now I have this issue. And so I've been working on it, slowly working on it, because it is really killing me inside. So some people with imposter syndrome are people who are highly skilled and accomplished, and they tend to think that others are just as skilled. I feel like this with video production. There's people that do the exact same thing as me. Or when I come across somebody that knows something that I don't know, like maybe a shortcut or something, I'm like, how can I say that I do this or that I know this stuff and I don't know this? Like, it just kills me. I'm working on it. So this also can spiral into feelings that you don't deserve accolades or the same kind of opportunities as other people. There's no threshold of accomplishments that can kind of shake these feelings and put these feelings to rest. I mentioned things that I accomplished in the last decade, and I honestly I didn't think much of any of that stuff, didn't think of it to be special at all until recently when I was talking to a shell, my sister, and she was like, your life is so dope. And I'm like, what's dope about it? I didn't get it. I did not understand it at all. I'm someone that knows my insides and I'm looking at somebody's outsides. I don't know what they dealt with or the road that they took to get to where they're at. But then seeing people not judge me, but see me from the outside, the side of me that I don't see, it was just interesting learning about her perspective on my life and the accomplishments that I have accomplished. Feelings of imposterism are not restricted to just highly skilled people. Anybody can feel like this. Everyone is susceptible to the pluralistic ignorance phenomenon where we doubt ourselves privately, but believe we're alone in thinking that way because no one else voices their doubts. So there's no easy way to dismiss these feelings that we're less capable of something than the people around us, because we don't know how hard our peers work and how difficult certain tasks may have been for them, or how much they doubt themselves in general. So these intense feelings of imposter syndrome can prevent people from sharing great ideas or applying for jobs and programs that they'd excel in. I know as far as jobs go, I've definitely shot myself in the foot because I felt like I didn't measure up or qualify with their requirements or qualifications that they listed. There are a few ways to kind of combat the imposter syndrome. So one thing in particular is talking about it. Talking about it and hearing that other people are experiencing the same thing as you is very helpful. A lot of people think that if they ask about their performance, I also have performance anxiety. I feel like if I ask about my performance and I get like a real deal answer, I won't be able to deal if it's negative. I will probably cry. Fortunately for me, the way that it's been phrased is like, here's some good things that you've done. Here's some areas to work on, especially in retail. I hated retail because it was always like, let's talk. When I worked at Macy's, my supervisor, Christine, always wanted to talk to me because my sales were bad. I'm not a salesperson. I'm the customer service person. I love helping people, but I'm not going to sit there and try to upsell things to get people to spend all their money, especially during the recession. That's when I worked at Macy's. Terrible time in my life. Many think that if you ask, fears will be confirmed. One example in particular is when I worked at Fox 40, and I wanted to know how I was doing as an edit coordinator because I never worked in video production to that capacity where I am, delegating work to people and, making sure that all the shows are edited and, if there's something breaking or whatever, I got to do the quick turnaround. So as I mentioned before, I'm a perfectionist. I kind of, especially when it comes to video, like I want it to look and sound its best. In the news, you don't have that luxury. It's got to be quick. So trying to find that happy medium, it really was challenging for me. And I did hear from the directors and like the news director and other people, the executive producer, that I did a good job. Even though I did get some positive feedback, sometimes I still felt like, a fraud, and the positive feedback did not help or aid in easing those feelings at all. So finding out about imposter syndrome was an incredible relief, because now I can finally put a name to this phenomenon that I was experiencing. Once you become aware of it, then you can fight it, and we're never able to ban those feelings entirely, but we can have open conversations about them, about our professional and academic challenges that kind of help us to rewire ourselves to think differently. With increased awareness about how common this experience is, we can be frank about our feelings, and we can build confidence in simple truths. So you have talent, you're capable of doing, and you belong. It takes courage to take on challenges and pursue aspirations that leave you wide open of falling short. I'm on a healing journey right now. I'm learning this. Falling short, losing face, and being found out. I'm learning this. I'm learning to refuse to let my fears and doubts dictate my choices. In the process, you'll come to realize that the only imposter you ever had to worry about was your fear of people thinking that you were one.